Okay, let's go ahead, I think, and get started. My name is Sam McClone. I'm an architect with content architecture, and I am the 2020-2021 chair for the Christopher Kelley Leadership Development Program. Also on the call is Laura Richard. She's the vice chair for this year, and she will be the chair for the 2021-2022 iteration of the program. And then Jennifer Ward with AIAH Houston is on the call as well, and she can answer. She is a excellent resource for many of the administrative things that happen in this program, as well as a very integral part of our process. She does a lot of things for us, and we're glad to have her. So I want to this session is an overview of the program. We're just going to talk to you a little bit about what the program is, what it entails, what it looks like, and how it's going to function, or how we believe it's going to function this year in light of COVID-19. And then there will be some Q&A at the end. So if you have questions, you don't necessarily need to save them for that section. If there's something that's really you think is very specific to the slide we're on, just unmute yourself, hop in. The other thing is everybody's working from home. People are in complicated circumstances right now. So, if there's kiddos that are hopping on, or all sorts of things happening in the background, we're totally fine with that. Laura and I both have kiddos. We are used to it, and we are totally understanding. As you can hear, it's happening right now. We're totally understanding of those things. So please don't feel like you need to be muted the whole time, or you need to hide them away. It's just part of life these days. So this is the Christopher Kelley Leadership Development Program, and whoops, what's going on here? There we go. The program is in honor of Christopher Kelley, who was an architect in the Washington, D.C. area a number of years ago. This year, as I said, I'm Sam McClone, I'm the chair. Laura Richard at Perkins & Will is the vice chair, and Scott Daly, who is unable to join us tonight. He is the communications director, and he is an architect at Element Architects. Laura and Scott were both members of last year's 2019-2020 program, and I was a member of the 2018-2019 program. So Laura and Scott had an interesting experience because their sessions were in person and virtual. In light of COVID-19, I only was able to kind of be an observer in the sessions, the digital sessions this year. So Christopher Kelley was an architect, like I said, in the Washington, D.C. area. He was killed suddenly, and a couple of his friends wanted to continue his passions for education, mentorship, and leadership, and what they arrived at was the Christopher Kelley Leadership Development Program. The program is designed to kind of teach you many of the skills required to be a leader within your firm, and what it means to be a leader. I think many of us have kind of sort of definitions that are ahead for that program, for what that term means. And we hope that this program can help you expand that definition, as well as allow you to reflect on your own leadership skills. So this program is a national program. It's not, there's no national kind of governing body like Committee on the Environment, or I don't know, any of the other ones. Sorry, Jennifer, I don't know them all. But there are chapters in Indiana, Detroit, Washington, D.C., Atlanta, Miami, Houston, Phoenix, and New Mexico. New Mexico, and then there's one in Denver, I believe. There are coming up, there are going to be some new chapters throughout the country, particularly in the California area as well as Washington. But this program is, it's very local. It is set up such that it can be adapted to local standards, though we do have calls regularly with the other chairs of the committees around the country just saying like, hey, what are you doing? How are you doing things? What's some lessons learned? So that is, it is very local, but at the same time, we're connected nationally to everybody. So this graphic is a makeup of the DC, a metric of the DC group from a few years ago, but it is very relevant to the Houston office. It's about 55% women, 45% men. The firm sizes vary from year to year. The year I went through the program, the scholar size was skewed much towards the 10, firm size 1 to 10, firm size 11 to 50. Last year was a lot bigger. We had a lot of people from Gensler, PBK, some of the bigger firms in town that were part of the program, which was interesting because depending on who the scholars are, the firms they have, the things that are important to them change dramatically. There are some kind of overarching principles, but it can vary. So the intent of the program is really to train and nurture the next generation of leaders. The program has won some awards at AIAH Grassroots. It has dramatically impacted some of the leadership development programs in the DC area. Certainly, DC's been the longest running. I think they're on their 8th or 9th class right now. Houston, this will be our 3rd class. But it's really trying to nurture some skills and provide you a look into leadership that you won't necessarily get just by sitting at your desk every day and sitting around the conference table with principals, associate principals, other leadership at your firm. So for eligibility and application, we are looking for emerging professionals, and I'd like to emphasize that other than within the first 10 years of licensure, that's a pretty firm 10 years of licensure. If you're beyond that, well, I'm sorry, but this program is just not really for you. But we really want to emphasize emerging professionals, not emerging architects, not emerging associates. It's about emerging professionals, and we are looking for people who have architectural training, who have construction backgrounds, interior design backgrounds, landscape architecture, engineering, structural, mechanical, civil. Maybe you work in some sort of product design, industrial architecture field. We're interested in those people. And you don't have to be licensed. We say that you need to be within 10 years of licensure if you have your license. But we've had people in the past that were unlicensed working towards licensure. What we're most interested in is people that are willing to grow and learn and lead. So the other kind of part of eligibility is that the program is set up for residents in the Houston, Texas metro area, but that doesn't mean that you have to live in the Houston, Texas metro area. So let's say you live in Beaumont, you live in Brenham, you live in Columbus, Sealy, Galveston. Great, that's awesome. We want to have you. You need to understand that that's probably a greater time commitment for you to get here, but that's fine if you're willing to make that. If you're willing to make that kind of, I guess, personal sacrifice for the program, then we're happy to have you. And you're also not required to be an AIA member. We will ask that you pay slightly more in tuition, and that covers sort of the administrative costs that AIA membership typically covers to help run this program. So this is a list of the application materials. They are, I believe, up to date on the AIA's website. And these are what you will need to complete in order to apply for the program. So you'll need to register online, and then you'll download these kind of forms and upload these documents. So there's a letter of interest. We really want to know like why you want to be a part of the program this year, and kind of a little bit about you. We also would like some letters of recommendation, minimum 1, maximum 3, from professionals that you've worked with. It could be a colleague, it could be a boss, it could be a mentor you have. It doesn't have to be from your current firm. It can be from, could be an internship you had, when you were still in college. But we do want people that have worked with you in a professional capacity. We also want your resume. It should be, formatted like a resume, like your professional resume. And then the other 2 documents on here are the agreement form and the tuition assistance form. The agreement form is really important. You need to let your firm know that you are going to be participating in this program. The program is the first Friday of every month, starting in January from noon to 5. So if you're working a half day on Fridays, then then that's not as big a deal, but we still want your firm to know that you're taking part in this program. If your firm is not okay with you participating in this program, that is a problem. We believe, and part of this program is the belief that your firm should be supporting your growth. They should be supporting your professional growth, and that means supporting you on that growth and that journey.
And they should be excited that you got accepted into this program.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, they should be very excited that you're partaking in this program and that you're wanting to better yourself. You bettering yourself ultimately just betters the firm. The other form is the tuition assistance form. This is limited to AIA Houston members, and it is dependent on firm size. So obviously, the financial kind of burden. We ask your firm to pay for this, or you should be asking. Your firm should be paying for this. Cost of tuition is much greater proportionally for a very small firm than it is for a firm like Gensler or Perkins and Will, which are very huge firms. So if tuition assistance is something that you would qualify for, we would like you to apply. That being said, if your firm, we know that kind of economic times are hard, some firms are struggling. If your firm is struggling, go ahead and apply anyway, because the tuition assistance is at the discretion of the committee. And so, we have essentially scholarships available. We would like, we want to help you if you need help, particularly because we want you here. Then there's some other kind of some personal questions there's some personal questions that we just want to use to get to know you, what you feel is important, and kind of what your views are on the world and leadership. So, Laura, I'm going to let you go ahead and take over.
Okay, so for some important things to know is that attendance is mandatory, and that's part of getting your firm to sign an agreement. They're basically signing an agreement that they're going to let you out of work, that you can be there on time. They're not going to like make you leave like right when it starts. You need to be there, probably about, I would say like 15 minutes before it starts, so that you can get settled, get parked, get in the building, so that we can get started right away. You will have one excused absence. The second is going to result in a $50 fine and an expulsion. And that sounds really harsh, but we only have 5 sessions and 2 of them are mandatory. So that leaves 3. So if you miss 2 other ones, you've only been to one of the non-mandatory sessions. And so you're not gonna get as much out of the program if, you have 2 absences. And like I said earlier, the boot camp, which is the first session, and the final session are mandatory in attendance. And what we need from your firm will be the tuition payment. That should come from your firm. They should be definitely supporting you and be really excited that you've gotten into this program. Like Sam said, you're trying to better yourself because it's just going to better the firm. And the same thing with your agreement form. The agreement form the firm should be excited and like ready and willing to sign that agreement form, no problem. So this is kind of our tentative. You want me to keep going, Sam? Yeah.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. So this is kind of our tentative schedule. The application is going to open on the 1st, which is Thursday, and the applications we do at the end of the month. We're going to have our selection process at the beginning of November, and we're going to announce our scholar selections on November 18th, which will be before Thanksgiving. So it should give you plenty of time to, give us notice if you're going to participate in the program or not. And then the sessions will start in January 2021 with our closing reception in May 2021. So normally when we run the program, it starts in, was it September, Sam?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, so last year we started in September and we had 8 sessions. And so because of, COVID and not being able to meet in person or really do much, we're starting in January and we're running an abbreviated program this year. And so we've combined some of what we feel are the most important session topics into one session. So you can see the first one is the boot camp, and that's going to be on January 8th. And that's the one where, everyone kind of brainstorms about the sessions and what they want to learn from each of the future sessions. And that kind of guides the scholars into how they're going to plan the sessions and what the curriculum for each session is going to be. The only one that we have never had before is equity, diversity, and inclusion. And we grouped that with community engagement because we feel like they go hand in hand with each other. And, we feel like that one's a really important topic. And it actually came up, I think, in, 3 or 4 of my program's sessions. We had kind of topics that really touched on that. And so we feel like it should get its own dedication in a session. And so you can kind of see these dates. Right now they're tentative, but we should have a firm, these dates solidified before whenever we announce our selections, so that you'll make sure that you'll be able to know if you can make it or not, and you'll be able to plan ahead. Anything else, Sam?
I think that's good. Whoop. Okay. So part of the bootcamp session will be selecting the session that you are interested in. This graphic is from a more traditional session year, but this is from a more traditional session. But these are kind of basically the eight sessions, and then we have combined. And so what we'll do is that we will ask you to rank your session by interest. So some people will have, some people might have more interest in, working together or community involvement or business development or marketing. And then what we do is we will take those preferences and we will try to combine them. And so we're going to put people that are similarly engaged in each similarly engaged in each topic, and we're going to put them on that particular session. The intent of that is that if you are passionate about something, we want you to present that information, and if you're not passionate about it, we don't want you to present that information. And that is in no way a dig at anyone, but there is a lot about our profession. It is a big and complicated profession, and not everybody likes everything about it. And so we really want to encourage people to chase the thing they're passionate about, because if you are passionate about it, you're better likely to present it well. And so we want you to present that information. So this slide is a kind of about session development. The things that you will be responsible for in programming a session we have them kind of broken down into 3 major items. There's location, program, and the speakers. So the intent of the program is that we are wanting to meet in person starting in 2021. Part of Laura and I's calculus in the class size being smaller and a reduced number of sessions is that we feel that we can meet the CDC's guidelines for safely gathering, and still provide an excellent program. That being said, the intent is to meet in person, but we will be prepared to go virtual if safety and everyone's health dictates that. One of the things that you will need to think about is the size, the access, and the location of your session. So it may be, we've had people present their sessions at an escape room. We've had different offices. We've had community rooms and community centers. We've had people present at the AIAH office. We've had event spaces. Sessions have been outside. It's totally up to you. And we want you to, the location of the session should kind of speak to your session, we think. The other thing that you're going to be responsible for in the session is the actual session program. So what are we going to do for 5 hours while you're there? I will tell you that there'll be about 15 minutes where Laura and I have some housekeeping thing about like signing in to get your CEUs, or, hey, can you all sign this card? We're thanking a sponsor, something like that. But you all will be responsible for whether or not we have a panel discussion. What kind of activity might we do? Should we do a tour? Do you need to take a break? Are we just going to sit there for 5 hours and power through? And then the other thing is you'll be responsible for writing your AIA CEUs. So, those will get submitted through AIA Houston to the National AIA office for approval. But you'll work on writing all those kinds of things. And there will be guidance along the way. Laura and I and Scott will be helping you through that process to make. And we will be a resource for you and help provide you some resources to make those programs successful. The other thing you may think about in your session development will be bringing in speakers. These could be topic experts. They could be local architects, local leaders. They could be people you know, and they could be local, regional, or national. We've had all of them. We've done sessions via Zoom and GoToMeeting. We've done with speakers in New York and all over the country. Maybe it's somebody you met, maybe it's more regional professional, could be somebody you met at a local convention, but it also doesn't necessarily have to be an architect related. It could be people in the psychology department at Rice University. It could be doctors, it could be teachers, it could be anybody. What we want to do is we want you to find people who are best suited to present the information that you want to present to your fellow scholars. So this is just some kind of photos and documentation from a boot camp session. These are also, this is also sort of what the sessions look like. It's a lot of talking, interpersonal communication. We're brainstorming. We're thinking about the future of the sessions in that boot camp session. Part of what we'll do is we'll break out into small groups. You'll meet with your partner. You will get started in the process of planning those sessions with your partner, but you'll also meet as a group and talk about what are we going to talk about this year. We're giving you the broad overarching topics, but we're asking you all to better define what that is and what information you want to see presented. This program is really focused on you all. So Laura and I are here to be a resource and provide guidance for the program and steer it in the right direction, but the actual sort of information presented, how it gets presented, that is all up to you all. So you all are making the program into the thing that you're wanting it to be. Here's another fairly kind of an example of just a session and how it might happen. So you might find there could be some meeting rooms, there might be some activities where you're working together to build something, there could be tours, you could be sitting at some tables, like reviewing information, for a discussion, you might be doing a design charrette, again, very, very open-ended. And then part of the other focus of the program is on professional practice. And so, those may be panel discussions. It may be leaders from your own firm. It may be someone you see as a mentor. It may be some industry experts to talk about contracts or what to do in certain situations. What we're interested in is your thoughts on professional practice. Where do you want to grow? How do you want to grow? And how do you facilitate that conversation? I think one of the things this program does really, really well is it's getting lots of smart, talented, interesting people in the same room, sitting around a table and having a conversation about really big ideas. And then taking those big ideas and taking them back to your firm, taking them back to your peer groups and exploring them further outside of the, let's just say, walls of this class. So that's sort of how the program operates. We're going to, I'm just going to run through some quick FAQs. We get these questions a lot, and then there will be a question and answer session. So if you want to, you can start posting questions in the chat, and Laura and I will answer them after we get through this. The other way to do it is just take yourself off mute, introduce yourself to the group, and ask away. So real quick, do you have to be licensed? No, that's easy. Do you have to be an AIA member? Also no. You'll pay a little bit more. That's okay, but you don't have to be a member of the AIA. We are interested in smart, talented, creative, and people with a diverse range of backgrounds. Do you have to be an architect? No, you do not have to be an architect. You can be working towards your license. You can be in a related field, but you do not have to be an architect. How much is tuition? So because we're running an abbreviated program, we've reduced the tuition cost this year. The tuition is $250 for AIA members, and it will be $300 if you are not in the AIA. Again, that $50 increase is just to cover kind of administrative costs that are associated with the program that you usually would be paying via your dues to AIA Houston. For qualifying applicants, the tuition assistance will reduce the tuition to $175. We encourage you to apply. We encourage you to apply for it if you think you need it. And the other thing is that we expect CKLPD to provide about 25 CEU hours for this, and you will accrue them in the spring of 2020. Not all the CEUs will be HSW, but if you do $250 divided by 25 CEUs, that's like $10 a CEU. That's a pretty good deal to knock out your hours for the year. Tuition assistance, again, it's available for, you have to be an AIA member to get tuition assistance. It's really designed for small firms, 10 or less employees. That is, sorry, something just popped up on my screen. That is, so I'm sorry, small firm, but it is at the discretion of the committee. So if you need if you're at a large firm and your firm is saying like, yeah, I can do this, but we don't really want to pay for all of it, you know, go ahead and apply and we'll talk. So this is the biggest kind of question we get, and it's what should I put on my application, or what does the selection committee want to see? And we're not interested in like checking boxes and has this candidate done this? Have you had 1 million square feet of building built? Have you, you know, are you NCARB? Are you LEED? Are you, I don't know, what are some of the other ones? Pick an acronym, CSI, like whatever. We want your application to be a reflection of who you are as a person. We want to know what makes you tick. We want to know what you're passionate about. We want to know kind of your story. We want to know what makes you you. And we hope that your entire application, we want that to come across. So we want your letters of recommendation to highlight why you are you. And we want your letter of interest to be, why am I interested in this program? Not, you know, why does leadership matter, right? We don't want kind of generic answers, because honestly, we're looking for the most diverse and interesting class of, that we can have. And so the only way to do that is to know who you are. And so we're really interested in getting to know you and your application, and then getting to know you over the course of the program. So that's kind of the last FAQ stuff. So I'm just going to open it up to questions questions from the group. So, you know, feel free to post in the chat, unmute yourself, and let us know. Let us know if you have something you'd like to talk about. Oh, so few questions. We must just have done such an excellent job presenting it.
Hi, I have a question. This is Sarah from Perkins and Will.
Hey, Sarah.
Hi.
Do you know Laura? Do you know Laura?
I do. We worked together. We worked together for all of like 2 weeks before we all got sent home. So we know each other a little bit better virtually now. And as past graduates of the Christopher Kelley program, I'm kind of curious. My understanding is you can only go through it once. If you have any sort of feelings about waiting for the next opportunity that there's a full program, or that it'll be just as beneficial and successful as a program this year?
I think that's a really good question. I think it just depends on kind of, you know, your schedule. If you know, you can't commit a full year, this might be like a really great opportunity for you. But I mean, I don't know. What do you think, Sam? That's the only like kind of advantage I see.
Honestly, I think that if you apply for the program this year, I think that it will be just as important and impactful as if you ran a full year program. I think that having the what I benefited most from the program was developing a network of people that I can rely on in certain professional situations. The group of 16 people from my class, we have an email thread that must be, I don't know, 500-600 messages long at this point, and it's just like, I mean, we were having a conversation last Friday about it, and it was this like debate about how to interpret some task stuff because someone had said, hey, has anyone ever gotten around, like, how do you provide a pool access lock at the same time as providing an accessible gate to the pool? And it was like, oh man, that's a good question. And so then like the conversation and the debate rages, right? But we never talked about that when I was in the program. And so, but you know, the people that are the people that you meet, I think, are the greatest resource. I likely would not have met a lot of the people I met in this program who are now like professional friends, colleagues, without it. And, you know, we do things from time to time. Well, not anymore, but we used to have lunches on Fridays, and just every Friday there was a lunch, and, you know, if you could make it, great. And if not, that's okay too. And, you know, we got together. So I would say, while you may have less kind of hours of learning in the same situation, I think that the network of people is what is the greatest benefit. And I don't think that would really change if we run an abbreviated program.
And I think this kind of like the way we've, you know, chosen the sessions, it really kind of focuses on some of the ones that are usually more interactive. So we've chosen really good sessions to, you know, compact into like, you know, our abbreviated year. And I think it's going to be really engaging to just see, you know, how these two sessions combined create like, it might create like a whole new program for the next year, because it's ever evolving and it's very regional. So maybe our program will evolve into something completely different.
Yeah, you know, I've done some. I was telling Laura this earlier. It's like I'm doing some mentoring and some volunteering with U of H and Rice this year. And one of the things that I have told those students is that I think that this is an opportunity in the times that we're in to rethink the profession of architecture and rethink how we do what we do. And I think that this class is, particularly the abbreviated class, is a real opportunity to figure that out, and to start to think about that and to start to have that conversation. So while yes, it is an abbreviated program, I think it's a fascinating opportunity for growth. And so I don't think I could say that the full year program is better than a shorter program. But I definitely understand why you could feel that way. And if you feel that way, that's okay. And if you want to wait, that's also, you know, that's okay too. We'd love to have you. If it's not this year, we'll maybe next year. So.
Well, thank you. That was really great.
Good, good. Does anybody else have something? Okay, looks like Sarah in the chat asked who should recommendation letters be from. I think it could be an employer. I think it could be a colleague and a friend. I think all of those are okay. I think it probably needs to be someone who is has recently worked with you or worked with you in a professional capacity. Like, I don't think your third grade teacher from art class, like third grade art teacher or something like that, would be a good recommendation. I think
they should be focused. They should be. I think they should be specific for this application.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it, Laura. Yeah, and then Max is asking, piggybacking on that, how recent should your letters of recommendation be? I would not reuse a letter of recommendation. Like Laura said, it needs to be specific to this program. We want to know why that person believes that you would be a good fit, why they see you as a leader, why they want you to be in this leadership development program. What else? Oh, chat.
Just out of curiosity, the topics and context of our presentation in the program, is it limited to the current state of affairs, a historical retelling, or is it a future outlook? How does that get structured?
Sure. Max, that's a good question. Tell me if I don't answer it, or feel free to interrupt me if I'm like going off on a tangent here. I think my gut says that answer is up to you. So you get to make it what you want. If you would like to frame a session in historical context, or you need to use historical context to make a point about the current state of affairs, and then how should we do something differently for the future? I think that's excellent. I think those sessions could be like that. Laura and I, typically how the session planning works is that before your session, we would sit down and we would have some conference calls, and we'd just say, hey, what are you working on? What are you thinking? And then we'll kind of reference that against the stuff that gets brought up in boot camp as topics that we want to cover. And I think that as long as you're kind of covering the big ideas that the class has said that they want to discuss, the sort of presentation and the format and how that information is presented and the context for that information is really up to you. The best example I have for this is that in Laura's class, the very first session was about working together, and it was how people interact. And so the group came to us and said, oh, we want to host this at an escape room, and we want everybody to do an escape room. And we're going to like learn how we all work together in the like stressful situation of an escape room. And we said, hey, that's awesome. That's really cool, because like what other leadership program is going to let you do that, right? Like we don't want you to just sit at a desk and be like, this is leadership, this is how you do leadership. You know, it's like, go out there and do something. We want you to be creative with this, and we want you to make it your own. And when we pair you up, like Max, let's say you're accepted in the program and you're the scholar, like I will probably ask you, like, all right, what's the historical context for this? What's this future like? Like this conversation will be like, I'll want to know, because that seems important to your personality and your beliefs. And so let's like, how are you going to bring that? How are you going to bring that to the session? So there's really no, there is no limits, I would say, to any of this.
And to kind of piggyback on that, like the escape room kind of sounds silly, but the way they formed the session is we all did a DISC personality assessment prior to the session. And then we had someone come in and talk about, DISC assessments and, different types of personalities and how they work together. And then we were divided up into, groups. So we were kind of evenly distributed across the DISC, I don't know, what is it called? Circle,
chart,
yeah,
whatever.
Yeah, and she would come in and she would say like, oh, do you see how like, the D's are like, at the forefront, and oh, this is the C's over here, and she kind of like helped you analyze so that you can see like what different people in your team of different types of DISC, personalities, how they can work together, and how to analyze, what type of DISC someone is. And so it really became like a way of, identifying how to work as a team and how to be a leader no matter what your personality type is. It was a really, really great exercise. Even though it sounds silly, like, oh, we did an escape room. It was a really great exercise.
Thanks. That actually answers it quite nicely.
Jennifer at AIAH reminded me that I'm supposed to bring up part of planning each session will also be fundraising for those sessions. I'm sorry I skipped over that. And so what happens on, let me go through this slide, is that part of the programming activity and the speaker activity will be determining if there are costs associated with those things. If there are costs, the expectation is that you would fundraise for those. You know, we can help you reach out to sponsors. We have documentation about how we want you to do that, kind of that sort of information. And so if there is if there's fees associated, you're up for fundraising it. Things you don't necessarily have to fundraise for are like lunch and coffee at each session. The committee will provide that information as part of, we do fundraising ourselves. We have to ask for money to help put this on. And some of those funds go to covering like lunch and coffee. So we don't ask you to provide that, but let's say you want to provide a book for everybody that's relevant to your topic. You know, we ask you to fundraise to provide those copies of the book. We ask you to, if there's an activity you want to do, like an escape room, there's a cost associated with that. We ask you to fundraise that. There may be speaker fees. There may be location fees.
Parking.
A lot of parking, those sorts of things. A lot of times people will, a lot of sponsor or venues will just say like, hey, we're going to make an in-kind donation. And all that they ask for is that their sponsorship or their logo and their information is presented at the session, or that there may be like a quick, you know, a quick thing. We presented a law office one time, and the attorney, one of the managing partners at the law office, just came out and gave his little like elevator pitch about the firm and the type of work they did, and that's the equivalent of them writing a check for $500 or something like that. So there is no budget for each session. That was a question that came up at the lunchtime session. There's no budget. It's, you just fundraise what you need to cover the cost of your own session. Okay, it is approaching 6 o'clock. We are scheduled from 5 to 6. So if there are any final questions, please. Yes, Max.
From your personal experience when you were signing up for the program to when you completed the program, how were your expectations met, if at all?
Oh, okay. That's a good question. I did not have a very like a defined expectation for the program when I went through. I will say that the program allowed me to think differently about what I was doing with my career. I didn't know exactly kind of, I thought I knew what I was doing and what I wanted to be doing. And it wasn't long after that, it was in the middle of the program actually, that I realized that I was not doing the kind of work that I thought was important, or I was not as diverse as a professional as I thought. And so I actually changed jobs in the middle of the program. And I kind of said, oh my gosh, like I remember like updating my resume. I had updated my resume to apply to the program. And then during the year, I had to update my resume again because I was going to become the vice chair. And when I went to do that, I realized I hadn't made any significant changes hadn't done anything to make significant changes to my resume. And I thought, you know what, I need to go do something else. And so, but I don't think that I would have made that decision had I not been a part of this program. Laura, what about you?
I applied for the program right after, like maybe like a year after I finished all my licensing exams. And I just felt like my firm wasn't supporting me in kind of moving forward. And so I kind of like looked to like outside, you know, programs and stuff. And this was one of the only ones that I found that was, you know, not going back to get a master's or an MBA or something like that. And joining the program and, you know, just getting through, like, I don't remember how many sessions it was before I decided like I was just in the wrong place. And if they weren't going to support me and try to help me, you know, become a better professional, then, you know, I need to leave. We're not saying like, you know, everyone changes jobs in the middle. That's not.
No, that's not true. You're not necessarily going to change jobs, but I think what the program does is it makes you realize like what your firm could or should be offering you, and it gives you a context for what a good firm is versus what an employer is, I guess.
Yeah, and it also helped me realize just the things that I kind of had moral objections to. I didn't have to work for a firm that believed in those, if that makes sense. Like I didn't want to design prisons anymore. I was like, this is not what I believe in. Because my session that I did with Scott was the community engagement, and it just made me understand myself a little better and understand what was important to me. And one of the things was, you know, I want to design a better world, and if I don't believe in what I'm designing, I shouldn't settle for that. And so it just kind of like makes you a little more confident, and it made me feel more sure of myself as a professional in this field. And I don't think I would have gotten that in, you know, without the program or, you know, just going back to get a master's.
Thanks for sharing.
Oh, no problem.
Anyone else? Okay, I will go ahead. I'm going to put my email briefly in the chat until we wrap up. It's how do I?
I'm also going to put the website, our website, in the chat as well for the program. And there's a lot of information on there. There's the session schedule for this year. There's you know, more backstory on the program. There's links to the other programs across the country, so you can kind of look and see what they're doing. You can see all the past scholars, the past committees. There's a lot of information on there. You can also preview the application materials, but the official application materials, the ones that are most up to date for this year, are on the AIA website.
Yeah. So Sarah, I'm sorry I somehow responded to you privately. But everyone should have my email now. So if as y'all are going through this process, if you have questions, please don't hesitate to just reach out, shoot me an email. I'd be happy to answer them for you. If you're going, I can't give you any like coaching on your application, but you know, if you just have like a question like, is this program right for me? If you just want to chat, you know, feel free to shoot me an email. We'll set something up. We can talk. I can talk to you more about it. I'm sure that you'll have questions as this moves forward. If you have some sort of technical issues or administrative stuff with the website, Laura and I have some ability to do that, but Jennifer will be a good resource at the AIA. She can help you kind of navigate that process if you're having trouble. So please do reach out to her. She's here to help. The other thing I want to just cover real briefly is that the application process will take place through Submittable this year. Jennifer, I believe, let us know that there are some opportunities to edit and update your application as required. So if you get everything uploaded, you sleep on it, and then the next day you're like, oh, I really think I need to do something else. You know, you can edit it up until the time that applications close. So that is available to you. I think you have to make a submittable account, but you know, you can always just make it, do the application, then delete your submittable account. So anyway, with that, let's conclude. I know it's 6 o'clock. People have dinner to get to. People have hopefully not work to get back to. But anyway, I hope this was informative. I hope it was helpful. We're really excited about this year, and we are really interested in getting to know y'all more in the application process, and if selected, over the course of the next year. So with that, let's conclude. Thanks, and thank you for everyone for being here tonight. This was great.
Thank you.